Hello everyone and welcome back to class meeting number 5, part 4. So with this we're going to continue on with the reading with a little bit more backstory, stuff that, well actually some of it's becoming a little bit more game time, modern time. It's going to help set the tone for some of the things that are occurring. So what's the first thing that you got up
Well, the first thing we have is an intercepted memorandum. I'm actually making the little smiling cowboy group play a bit of an important role, at least in this story process. Because
they're going to play an important role in the game process.
They are, but these are the folks who are getting the information out that nobody else wants you to know. There's a lot of stuff going on behind closed doors or behind closed airlocks, and without these guys out there literally scouring the web of information, trying to find ways to get this stuff and get it exposed, we just wouldn't know how interesting the situation really is.
Exactly. It's a group of very, very well-trained anonymous hackers. It's the best way to put it.
The information
network.
Black market.
Yeah.
That's what it boils down to.
That is something that will become very important to us in the game later on. So Smiling Cowboys is actually something you're going to be hearing a lot more of later on, depending on what you do in the game. But with that, Zach, take it away.
All right. Intercepted memorandum, Arcancite findings. Greets you lovely info leechers. We have for your consideration a delicious cable that we literally stumbled upon on a simple Transat scan. It took us about 4 months to break the encryption, so understand that all of this info is probably wildly out of date at this point. But let me introduce you to the dramatis persona of this little gem. On the receiving end, we have Yoshi Williamson Hamamoto. That's right, the CEO, chairman of the board of Hamamoto Industries. The sender is none other than Dr. Patricia Belowski, who heads up the HI Science Division's Research Management Department. Mr. Chairman, you have requested a full write-up of our current progress on Arcancite research. Please understand 2 critical things in advance. 1, it has taken considerable liaising with the R&D and science departments to be able to put this together. I've distilled everything I can into the most basic terms I can come up with. If it gets deep, that's only because the situation is exactly that. 2, to the best of our knowledge, we're still ahead of the curve on this. It's possible that Foresight may be testing some of these same things, but no one has yet made the strides that HI has achieved so far. As you can see from the attached scan results, we are still not entirely sure what we're dealing with here. While it is certainly true that the Arcancite mineral has a wide variety of physical properties that adhere to our expectations of the basic physical laws, the similarity seems to stop there. Nevertheless, here's an overview of our findings so far. First, no part of the molecular structure of Arcancite corresponds with a known substance. All we can say for certain is that it has some form of molecular structure. I say some form because we can't really confirm that the particles making up these molecules are, in fact, atoms. None of the subatomic particles comprising these non-atoms have been identified. In truth, Mr. Chairman, we have no concrete idea what is holding this substance together. Arcancite is non-conductive, yet becomes highly unstable in the presence of extreme electrical fields. As you may recall, we lost the low orbital research station Icarus when trying to fire high-intensity electron beams into a collection of Arcancite. That accident made us much more careful in our research, but also unlocked several new applications of Arcancite of particular interest to the weapons division. We have still been unable to identify the precise cause for the unusual energy signatures that seem to emit from Arcancite. It is not electrical in any form. Indeed, the luminescent tendencies of the substance seem only marginally related. There is another form of energy we have had to dub arcane energy to explain the behavior. This arcane energy seems to originate within a higher dimensional order. The light we see is simply a byproduct of this energy passing through our dimension. I realize this dimensional order string theory stuff gets heavy, but it's all we have right now. The good news on the arcane energy front is that it seems possible to harness it in some form. If light can be generated by arcane energy trickling through our dimension, then it stands to reason that other spectra of electromagnetic energy may be produced as well. It's not entirely unreasonable to think that this could be used as a super efficient energy source if we can find some way to establish the link between our dimension and the dimensional origin for arcane energy. I can send a report on Project Jessica if you need further details. A variety of test results provided by Sector Ocelot reports that this arcane energy may be the actual source of the Elythian power. Recent findings suggest that millions of years' worth of evolution in the presence of arcane fields may have caused some sort of connection at the cellular level. The general theory is that Elythians have found some way to tap directly into this dimension, or dimensions, and it is from there that they are able to create the effects we know as the power. There is no doubt that arcane energy can have dramatic effects on human beings. It seems that when absorbed at the cellular level, Arcancite affects the mitochondria of human tissue cells, causing them to temporarily emit a low-grade arcane energy field of their own. It may be possible for this to be used as a means to focus a lower-quality derivative of the power, but as of yet we have not been able to fully assess the risks of long-term exposure to the process. I can draw up an overview of the current findings of Project Miranda, but please understand that they are currently very rudimentary, and for many reasons it may be better not to discuss the matter in any form at this time. This concludes the primary findings. Again, this is all very high level. I can arrange a meeting with the board if you want to discuss details. Thanks, PRB.
That was awesome. DMJ, I had to bite my tongue.
What happened?
He just said, translation, we can make volunteers glow.
Yes!
I had to actually bite my tongue because I almost just started laughing into
Very
the mic.
good, NATO.
That was great.
Glad to see Arcancite is understood enough to utilize, but not enough to destroy the magical, mystical nature of it all. That's what I was shooting for, so that's good. Hey, Wedge Bob, what's the meh for? I'm interested. I actually get more interested in negative feedback than I am in positive feedback. So what you got for me? I'll wait, actually, while you type something up. Oh, I don't know. No, come on. This is a class interaction. You're here, you're listening, and you actually took the time to say meh. So you got to have something to back that up. You don't just idly say that with nothing in mind. If you have nothing in mind, don't say anything. Come on, feed me something. Help me. Is he in the class? Can we, like, put him on... I don't know. Do you have a mic?
He can raise his hand over here.
Yes, please raise your hand, and let's chat for a little bit. No, it's getting late after 10 p.m. here. Oh, cop out. Terrible cop out. Oh well. Well, story is never going to please anyone. It's like making a pizza. But
no, you mean everyone, not anyone.
Well, that's true.
Story's never going to impress anyone.
Well, yes.
Here's our story. Booga, booga, booga,
right.
booga. You guys like it?
It's all good. But yeah, as soon as you get a chance, I'll be looking out for a PM or something from you to explain what you're talking about. Because it's, if you're going to say something, you might as well have some sort of statement or thought process to back it up so that I can at least hear you out.
All right, Toastich, hopefully by now you are back. Because Toastich ran off to go and grab some coffee. Just try to PM before 10 p.m. And Gav missed out because he stepped out.
Ah, well, we'll put the videos up.
Yes, we will.
Wolf, I don't remember you saying that,
Yeah,
but that's not to say I didn't see it and subconsciously commit it to memory.
That's actually been written for a while, though.
Yeah.
That one there.
So it's one of those things where I don't remember you ever bringing that up, but it could just be one of those great mind situations. I did want to have some sort of semi-scientific explanation for the power, so it wasn't just magic, like we could almost explain it. But, anyways.
And Codone says, how do you relate all of this information to the player? I'm not going to answer that right now, but if you're creative...
NATO said quests.
It's not...
Should be missions, NATO.
Yes, NATO, I can't believe he said quests. Wow. He's been playing WoW too much. But, yeah, there's actually many, 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 many different ways that we could apply all of this information to players. many different ways, and not just through quests. But I'll save that for another time. Okay, so I guess Toastich never made it back. He got lost with his coffee somewhere. But this next story is the final one for tonight,
And you guys have had enough, I'm sure.
yeah, but this is my favorite personally. It's good.
Probably mine too, just because of the nature of it. But I guess I'll just go ahead and jump on him.
Alrighty.
This section is called Research into the Power.
So you got to do some serious voice acting here. I mean, this one's so.
I'll do what I can.
I mean, come on, guys. Research into the power. We're humans. And by our very nature, if we were to suddenly find someone who was shooting fireballs out from their hands, we're going to find out what makes them tick. That's just us. We're very curious and greedy, and we want the power. But anyways, with that, let's have some fun, Zach. Last story.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not often that we come across something at Smiling Cowboy that we really don't want to let out. I'm passing this to our inner circle and founders user groups just to give you something to think about. However, this goes public and we're probably facing all-out war on Elythia, and until I'm certain I know how such a conflict would conclude, we have to keep this quiet. You've each already agreed to this, and we've installed rainbow-level tracking throughout the file. Let's just read it, mull over the information, and stop there. Thanks. What we're looking at is a series of high-security encrypted hardline emails from within Sapienetics Incorporated. The conversation took place over the course of about 2 weeks, followed up by a further string of emails from within their laboratory network, detailing certain experiments Sapienetics appears to be performing on the Elythians. How we managed to get our hands on it is something I can't really discuss here, as it wound up costing the lives of some of our more prominent contributors. I can't stress enough how critical it is that these docs don't get out right now. We don't really have anywhere else to go outside of Elythia at the moment, and if they knew what was going on, there's no way they'd let us remain on their planet. Oh, and yes, names and dates have been chromatically encrypted. We found them that way, and rather than removing the safeguards, we've bolstered them. We have a lot of reasons for this. Let's just leave it at, "Thou shalt not mess with this file, lest ye suffer my wrath." I don't have to tell any of you the true value of anonymity, nor do I have to go to great lengths to explain the perils of losing it. We need to know how to deal with this, but we can all agree that it's too big to just be handed out in the usual fashion. 2. GB from RK. Date. Masked. Subject. Picking flowers. I need an update on that bouquet you've been gathering. We're behind schedule by at least 3 months. I need something I can report to keep the gears oiled. Ops like this don't just get closed down. The folks involved don't just get transferred back to a desk job. Both of our asses are on the line here. Get me something useful. 2. RK from GB. Date. Masked. Subject. Picking flowers. Stop right there. That cloak and dagger shit won't cover your ass anyway. For the record, I knew full well what this entailed, and you continuously fail to appreciate the delicate situation we're in. Acquiring test subjects isn't quite as easy as picking flowers. Need I remind you that 1. We know that in emergencies, Spielbergs can communicate instantaneously via some form of ESP. 2. We know that the Spielbergs can open some form of teleportation portal to bring in help or reinforcements. 3. Some of the Spielbergs seem to be able to teleport themselves for relatively short distances. 4. There's still the pesky business of trying to capture something that can light you on fire, suck the air out of your lungs, or just crush you with the ground that you stand on. 5. We still have no idea how much these overseers can and cannot see. We are very likely already under surveillance. We both know this is important, but everyone involved must know that it is not something that I can just make magically happen. Magic is, in fact, the problem. 2. GB from RK. Date. Masked. Subject. Very well. Fine, I understand. I can spin it. However, I'm going to call in a few favors with spec tac. Let me see how much easier I can make this one on you. There's a lot riding on this. P.S. Cute, you know, that you chide me for cloak and dagger tactics while still calling them Spielbergs. 2. ST from RK. Date. Masked. Subject. Status. I've dispatched three squads to the attached coordinates. Please be aware that you are still running the show. Commander QN will be on hand as a consultant of sorts. He's run Spielberg Ops for Spartacus for about 10 years prior to defecting. I suggest you listen to what he has to say. 2. RK from GB. Date masked. Subject: that bouquet you ordered. Delivery incoming. Your contacts in Spec-Tac are to be commended. The entire package has been assembled, 103 Spielbergs in all. Nice range of male, female, young through old, in perfect cryo and en route to the orbital lab now. P.S. Jesus, R. I've never seen anything like that. I didn't even know we could do some of that stuff. 2. GB from RK. Date masked. Subject: that bouquet you ordered. You still have never seen anything like that. Ever. Are we clear? So there we have it. They're rounding up Elythians and shipping them off to that gigantic Sabionetics orbital lab we've been staring up at for the last decade or so. That's bad enough, but it's nothing compared to what they're doing. Please note that the subject notation system they're using is a bit interesting. Subjects are sorted by age, lowest to highest. Even numbers are female, odd numbers are male. If you see a letter after the number, the subject is human. Yes, they're not limiting their butchery to the Elythians. 2. FE from LK. Date masked. Subject: any developments? FE: I'm thrilled to hear that things are going well in Lab J. No one thought this would be easy, but I hope you and your team understand how much we appreciate your ongoing efforts. If humanity is going to have any hope of a future with the Spielbergs, we need to know everything we can about them. 2. LK from FE. Date masked. Subject: any developments? LK: there has been a lot of ground to cover, but I think we're making good progress. Of course, we knew from early observations that there was little difference in power manifestation in the Spielbergs from male to female. What I don't think anyone really expected was that there is considerable power crossover between mated pairs, or how significantly the powers between groups can seem to leverage off each other. We nearly lost the entire station when we let 3 of them come into contact with one another while fully lucid. Several guards were killed. I've notified the families, and we've been able to move on very steadily from there. More as it comes. 2. FE from LK. Date masked. Subject: any developments? FE: have we yet established any sort of biological vector for the link yet? 2. LK from FE. Date masked. Subject: link. Cerebral elimination testing. LK: forgive the delay. I could not respond until I had something to report. The subtractive elimination procedure we've been running on subjects 2, 5, 55, 62, 92, and 97 have been remarkable. Specifically subject 2 and 5, who were able to sustain viable links to their abilities even after losing some 70% of their total brain matter. I think we can conclude that the link isn't native to a specific part of the brain. Before subject 2's primary motor skills were lost, she still seemed to be able to tap into her abilities under the right stimuli. However, it was the length of the process that was most interesting. As you may recall, 2's primary manifestation seemed to deal with cellular regeneration. It seems that in the weeks of testing in between subtraction sections, she would redevelop roughly 20% of her total brain mass, making the process take much longer on her than with the other test subjects. The cellular team is seeing some promising results. I'll have more on that as it develops. 2. LK from FE. Date masked. Subject: minor setback. LK: we lost several of the test subjects today. An attempt to escape of sorts. We were not exactly sure how they were communicating with each other, but it was highly organized. Several guards and a few members of the science team were killed in the attempt, and there were numerous injuries. We've since installed some shielding that we think will disrupt further such attempts. It's similar to a Faraday cage between the walls, running high voltage offloaded from the primary engine core. You can hear the hum at night, and it has made the Spielbergs very uncomfortable, but I think we're getting them to a more agreeable level of cooperation. Still, I cannot be certain that there wasn't some sort of help from our end. I'm having the entire staff re-screened just to be safe. Update. Cellular team reports interesting findings. they've been doing some pretty radical stuff down there. Everything from archaic blood transfusions to even some cerebral grafting. Subject 35X actually showed some signs of promise for several hours after his recovery time. View the included video footage for results. Yes, he actually lit his own arm on fire. Unfortunately, that was the least of our problems. It seems that while there are some fundamental compatibilities at the cellular level between us and the Spielbergs, it's actually their cells that reject ours, not the other way around. Subject 35X's brain was attacked as aggressively as a virus, and he had to be euthanized. While there are still more possibilities in this direction, direct cerebral grafting seems to be out of the question. That's all we were able to grab. They've still got experiments going on up there in that great big pinwheel of theirs. We can't be certain that any of these subjects are still up there, and if they are, if they're still alive. Further, we can be fairly certain that these are not the last of them. We don't really know how long they've been doing this, either. Again, we can't let this out of the bag right now. We'd be looking at full-on warfare. Plus, you can bet your ass that if Sapienetics is willing to vivisect the Elythians, as well as their own kind, to help understand the power, then a few more casualties in the form of some info junkies wouldn't even slow them down.
That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very nice. There you
Thank
go.
very much.
So, hopefully, through these readings tonight, you guys have gathered a bit more focus on the world of Elythia and a little bit about what's going on there.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice, pretty world, and humans have come. It's big. There's plenty of room for everybody, but we're doing what we do, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about it. We're doing what we do. And we come in and we shit on everything.
Well, I think so far my favorite part, I actually kind of like that it has gotten a little bit dark. If there is to be such a thing as good and evil in this story, and there doesn't necessarily have to be, I do kind of like the idea that the person you are right now, even without touching the keyboard before you play the game, you are already one of the bad guys. If you want to roleplay one of the, at least not quite as bad guys, then that's your call, of course. But, you know, it's just a nice tie-in.
Well, there's bad guys throughout the whole.
Yeah, they're really...
Yeah, I mean...
in the end, I mean, if you remember your Elythian history that we read earlier, nobody here has got completely clean hands.
Yeah.
So,
I will say this. Now, there's another reading that's becoming pretty massive. And some of you hearing it, you may say, what? I don't know if you've sent it to Gavin or NATO yet.
The gameplay one?
The gameplay one.
No, I haven't.
Yeah. That one?
No.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to send that to anybody.
That one is under tight wraps at the moment because it's the first time where we are discussing some of gameplay as we see it. But it's just that, as Zach mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a short novel through the eyes of a player in the world, though. What is it, Zach?
I was looking at what DMJ wrote and smirking a little bit.
Oh, what did he say?
He said, I'd also expect the Elythians to be just as ruthless, perhaps just locking up a bunch of random settlers and demanding that they build computers and assault rifles, not understanding the concepts of design and manufacturing base.
Not all stories have been read yet.
Yeah, some things I actually just kind of tucked away for later.
Yep. Very good, Mr. DMJ. Yeah, I like the way you think, sir. That's all I can say at the moment. I like the way you think. But this other document is something that I'm hoping that we can share with you guys in the near future. I think Zach and I and Lee have fully agreed on one thing, and it's something that we've all mentioned throughout many of our classes and writings, and that is when you start the game, these are the things we know for sure that we'd like to do. You go in and you select, are you human? Are you Elythian? Then you get to tweak out what your character looks like. Then you hit start.
Yeah, I don't want people to spend a lot of time picking classes. You know, there's that initial stress that comes in with, you know, you just see, oh, well, what should I be? And should I be a hunter, or should I be a mage, or should I be a rogue, or you know, anything like that.
Or even with the language that we've used in the discussion of our game. Am I going to align myself with this corporation, right, or that corporation, or this house or that house? You don't make any of those decisions when you...
I'd rather you just say, you know, I want to be human, or I want to be an Elythian. A little bit of custom variation on what your character looks like, because that's nice. Everybody loves that.
Absolutely.
And then just go, and then the rest of it will play out.
You'll decide and learn it through your actions in this world that we're putting together.
At the very least, I'd like you to be able to see how each aspect plays. It's like, you think to yourself, oh, well, I'd like to be a hacker. And you see, let's say it was a game very much like WoW, or even like Rift, because Rift does the same thing. Mm-hmm. And you would see, hacker on a list. You could click on it, but there's always that moment where you're like, yeah, but what does that really mean? Do I have to sit here and level a hacker through 10 levels to even know what that's like, and then maybe roll something else because I don't want to do that? I'd rather you just jump in and then get to a situation where you can see what it's like to be a hacker and decide if you want to pursue that right there in the game. And don't make people have to go look stuff up on Google.
Right.
Just
exactly.
Jump in and figure it out as you go.
Now, Wedge Bob says, yeah, need to keep the classes very simple to make it pay off. I got a better one for you. How about
none?
There are no classes.
How about zero?
You define your class. You
got to use class with finger quotes.
Yeah,
class
just like here on
finger quotes.
Planet Earth in our reality.
You are what you do.
That's right. That is right. So it's going to make the game, I feel, much more interesting. It's also going to do some very interesting stuff for balance, where there's in your common everyday MMO, like with the World of Warcraft, it's always such a massive balancing act of this class to that class to how do we keep everybody balanced. It's completely different when it's all open and everybody designs what they want to be as far as balance goes.
Toasted said, I like the thought of unlocking appearances based on your character's class and talent build. Understanding, of course, we just said there really isn't anything specifically like that, but I hear where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Like epic scars and tribal tattoos for warriors and demonic tattoos with flaming eyes for necromancers, etc. Without going too far into it, I'd always kind of pictured that different uses of the power would have specific effects on the appearance of your character. I did like that. I like the way that felt. I don't know if that's something we're actually going to be able to follow through on, but it's just one of those ideas that you throw into the pot because it'd be pretty nifty. And humans, on the flip side of that, have things like cybernetic appendages to really change the way they look, or even biological enhancements to change the way they look. So there's all kinds of different ways you can make your characters look very human or like a really odd-looking Elythian.
And like Mr. Moose said, character customization does not have to be a one-time thing.
I would prefer that it didn't, and that's only because of the way I play these games. Like in World of Warcraft, I was so thrilled when they finally put in the haircut dude. And I mean, all of my characters, I've changed my haircut like a million times. I was like Dennis Rodman for a while.
Just as many times as he does in the real world.
Yeah. It's fun. I don't know why. It's just, I think part of it is that you play those games from a third-person view, and yeah, I know Nelson maybe even be listening to this. I love that third-person view, man. I live for it. But you stare at them for a while, and you're like, I want something new. And so you go get dreadlocks, and you paint them green. Just something to live a little.
I mean, because we can go out to the local store here and get some dye and go dye our hair right now. I mean...
Oh, can we? That'd be great.
All right. That's what we're going to do right after the show. Well, you can.
Sorry.
But, anyways, I can't, Mr. Moose. I don't have any hair. I'd just be dyeing my scalp.
Yeah.
That'd look horrible. But, oh, Gavin. Slumber party at the Buzz Cave. All right. Mm-hmm. Bring the popcorn and beer. So,
bring the nail polish.
But, yeah, anyways, tonight was a look into a lot of the things that we've been working on. Again, I've come to the conclusion that it really would not be worth our time, nor your time, nor precious bandwidth for us to record all of our discussions in coming up with a lot of these different angles, and then with Zach rehammering things out, putting his dramatic flair on it with new angles we decide to go because we didn't like one way or the other.
Don't say I have a dramatic flair after I make jokes about nail polish.
Well, I have to. It was just the appropriate time to do it, Zach. Jeez.
Okay, you're right.
But it has been a lot of fun, and it has been tense every now and then when one of us has an idea that we love and the other one doesn't. We don't want to see it go away, and then trying to find ground for compromise. A lot of fun sometimes. But it's progressing nicely. I feel really good with it. We're only a month into this, and a month into it, we've got a great proof of concept for a terrain system that that Lee has been working on that has made me happy enough to continue him on the path that he's going, as opposed to us saying, okay,
You
no,
fail, go do something else.
that's not going to work, or let's switch gears and decide something else. I'm very pleased with how it's coming and some of the things that we've talked about that we've yet to share with you guys. I'm pretty excited about all of this, and at the same time, also, please keep in mind, we're like 3 guys, 4 guys when we're able to get Nelson's help. It's pretty small group of people, and we're still trying to run a business because, well, we got to stay in business. We don't want to get shut down. So, yeah. So, like Mr. Dilbertian said, 3.5 men. That's right, sir. So let's see. Questions. Toasted. So when do we reckon we'll start seeing the multi-user world builder thing? We're heading towards that
tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. Toasted in
this weekend. The MMO will be done.
In the near future.
Well, who says we don't already have it?
Lee, hush, Lee, hush, Lee.
Shut up!
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. We have our priority of things that that we're wanting to record right now, and some things that are just disastrous R&D, or maybe not disastrous R&D, just don't yet feel like they're things that should be recorded yet for where we're at. We've been handling this whole thing very cautiously, so that, and I know maybe we shouldn't do this, but I know there are a lot of people that are in the class that are still new to coding, and I'm hoping that the way that videos and all have been presented, that this has become one hell of an educational course so far, because we're trying to keep everything from becoming too cryptic. So, yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
So any other questions before we call it tonight?
Let's see.
So what about doing height calculations, blending on the GPU and a shader, and build the collision mesh on the CPU separately? Lee, you want to talk about that? That's some stuff we've talked about.
Well, now you're doing 2 different calculations. Why do the same calculation both GPU side and CPU side when I could just save all the GPU cycles for doing some sort of really kick-ass multi-layered texture that has bump map and parallax map in it? But the main reason why not doing that is the next question is do a high tessellated type of terrain on the GPU and do a lower resolution collider on the CPU side. The problem that you end up with at that point is, depending on the terrain, you'll end up with a character that walks through it or floats above the terrain, as opposed to directly hugging the geometry. That's the main reason.
And then Mr. Rick the Blade says, have there been any developments on the RavenDB side? And the answer there, I do have a couple of videos that I want to put up that had Lee and Nelson discussing the persistence needs for terrain through terrain editing, etc. And it's interesting stuff. It's very loose discussion, so please keep that in mind. But I'll go ahead and get those encoded and put up. When you're going through those videos, please keep in mind they were recorded before the more recent set of videos that were recorded for session 2, meaning that you're going to see Lee's going to explain some of it at a quick high-level overview to Nelson as far as what the code is doing, so that Nelson has an idea of what's up and how to think about persistence and why Lee wants to handle it. And yeah, you're just going to see that, as you know now, for those of you that have been through all the more recent videos, Lee uses, what is it, Lee, 5 levels of scaling in total?
Well, in the Nelson video, I was
6.
using 5.
Oh, I thought Nelson was
6.
6. You sure? I thought Nelson was 6 and this one was 5.
Yeah, you're right. It's 6 and this is down to 5.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you'll see a little bit of differences here and there. Again, that's going back through and trying to make sure that everything's in such a way that it's easy to present and easy to digest for somebody who's still somewhat new to the coding world. At least
the terrain system changes every hour, so
more or less, yeah. But anyways, if all goes well, we will record tomorrow night, and then we will record. So that'll get these new things that Lee was talking about, and then maybe even this weekend be able to get into the sculpting stuff, which will then put persistence right in front of us, as well as, and the way persistence is going to be handled is, without getting into the details that we have discussed so far, it's just going to be client-side at first, just so you can play around and have a good time with it. And then we will go from there over into the whole collaborative workflow methodology. But before then, we still need to, the big thing is to completely justify the entire system. We still need to get our custom shader sets working properly so that we can do the layered texturing the way we want to. And then finally, the ability to place geometry all throughout the world and create areas that look, densely covered with foliage, etc. So I know, I'm tired.
I know. I didn't say it out loud.
Yeah, but I knew as soon as I said it.
That you were gonna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm so tired. It's not even funny. But so those things are very important to us before we start locking time or some of the networking stuff down. That's not saying that networking stuff's not being played with a little here and there. I can't really go into that. But anyways, once we knock those other things out, then we're going to be that will allow us to finally say, okay, stamp of approval on the terrain system that we're going to use, and then we'll go from there. So hopefully that answers your question.
And if it doesn't, tough.
For DMJ, yeah. Biomes, I'm looking at handling a completely different way. Instead of using the green and blue channels.
And if there's any other questions.
Moose said, Zach, did you plan on posting what you read tonight? Won't be a problem to replay videos and take better notes if you hadn't. While it is very cool when you do that, and does kind of make me feel strangely giddy to see somebody going through that much effort over what I wrote, let me go ahead and put that stuff together, and I'll get it up into some sort of a post that you guys can read over if you want to. NATO, you're welcome to do anything that you like. If you want to look over the stories and throw in suggestions or, what, I totally dig your opinion. Yeah, I don't think you've ever supplied me with anything that just made me turn up my nose, so you're welcome to get involved as much as you want. I've just been a little apprehensive about bugging you too much because I know you've been really kind of slammed lately, and I know that has eased up very recently, but, I'm just saying.
Yeah. So, yeah, toastage, read back over the stuff or listen back to it. Start seeing what kind of stuff you can draw up. I'm very interested in seeing what's inside that crazy head of yours when you see Elythia. What sort of stuff?
Yeah, actually, you're a big fan of landscapes.
Exactly,
and,
environmental stuff.
And I really dig your landscapes. And, I've done a really good job, I think, of just trying to describe very, very general basics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like there's no holds barred here. I haven't really defined what Elythia looks like because I want it to be so varied that it could look like anything depending on what part of it you're in. So, throw some stuff out there. And if I see what you got and be like, oh, well, this is great, but you know what? If you're thinking this is what the Nexian Outland should look like, because I know that's where you're going to start because there's jagged rocks, I can say, well, this is cool, but I'd always pictured it to have maybe a little more of this or that. And we can just go from there. We can have fun with it.
Yep, exactly.
That's the creative process.
But on the RavenDB side, to give a little more answer on that, because I know that kind of led over into the discussion about the discussion Nelson and Lee had in those two videos. Nelson and I have talked about getting some stuff put together to do some performance testing with, because we're going to be using multiple storage systems, which we'll talk about that more later, each in different aspects of the game. But there's some of the things that we need to test between relational databases, the document databases, and even, believe it or not, file storage for, again, some of the things that we're thinking. And that'll make more sense later, so don't take it and run with that yet until we really fully explain it. So Nelson's time outside of that has been spent more heavily this past week with getting the implementation of the basic project management system in place so that we can start recording some videos over those. Hopefully here in the next couple of days, those will start flowing again to all of our member sponsors. And we'll see if we can get that up and usable so that people like Toastich, who does drawings, they can add those drawings in, and we can add notes to them, and basically we can keep all of this stuff highly organized and basically create a nice document paper trail. And well, you get the idea, along with Zach's stories and Gavin's notes, NATO's notes, other comments from other people. I mean, there's this, we need this. So that's kind of been the big thing that Nelson has been putting together. So we should be recording on that very soon. But that, of course, will be all relational database stuff. So any other quick questions before we call it? Wow, my phone actually chimed. Somebody new following us on Twitter. Very cool.
So
Yep.
I think that's pretty much it.
Well, yeah, I was just giving it that extra second. All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Hang on, let's see. NATO says, has Unity mentioned anything about the class yet?
Not that I know of.
Nope, not that I know of. I know that Kay West said that he got involved with a conversation at GDC with I guess Joe Robbins and maybe somebody else, and 3D Buzz came up, and they know who we are, so we're just not being mentioned really. But we haven't heard anything else from Unity's marketing department ever since the one time that oh, hey, look at that, Wolfrey just started following Twitter's
at him
on
go.
3D Buzz. All right. But anyways, no, we haven't heard anything else back from the marketing team or their PR department. Yeah, I will get Zach to help out, and once we get off the class here and before crashing out, I will get up the final drop of the advanced character system for you guys. So if you want to hang around for just a little while, give it 15 to 30 minutes for that to be up, and then the streaming will be up shortly later. I'll go ahead and get that put up tonight. And then anything else that we can think of? I'll also go ahead and start encoding the other videos to throw up as well. Again, I had planned on having those out the other night. I did not realize that we were going to be spending so much time up at the hospital and all this stuff was going to be going down like it did. But and many thanks for those of you that were posting over on my Facebook. It is actually really nice getting to talk with you guys and see the things that you guys are saying and all, while I'm just sitting there in an emergency room, horrible chair with nothing to do at 3 o'clock in the morning except suffer from lack of sleep. But all right. Well, thank you guys very much. I'm planning to have another class possibly Monday, maybe Tuesday, but I'll let you guys know as it comes up. I want to have one sooner than later. I'm not going to discuss why, but it's something that, because there's some more things that we want to share. I'm just going to leave it at that. But with that, one other thing. Please, for those of you that are really enjoying the class and having a great time with it, please keep that word going on the Unity site, if there's an appropriate place, or 3D Buzz out in the lounge. Comments on Facebook that Toastich is doing such an amazing job with running for 3D Buzz. It'd be greatly appreciated, because there's still people out there that think the whole idea of the MMO class is a scam and a ripoff, which still cracks me up. And if there are those of you out there that have only invested $35 for this first month, and you feel like you're really getting your money's worth and learning a lot and enjoying the way that we're handling it so far, please, the more people we have talking this up, the better. I mean, so yeah, would absolutely love as much good press as we can get from you guys as possible. We really appreciate that. I love reading posts like that. So especially if you guys enjoy the class meetings too. Those are also good things
Yeah.
to say. I know sometimes they may feel like they're going in circles, but that's only because I'm really listening to what everybody has to say very carefully. You'd be surprised at how many notes I take during the sessions where you guys are talking. But with that, thank you guys so much for all the help, the support, and that's going to conclude this class, and we will be talking to you very soon, and we'll see you over in the forums. Again, I'll get those videos uploaded here next 15 to 30 minutes. Thanks a lot, guys. We're out of here, and good night.